Today, tensions flared on Capitol Hill as a heated exchange unfolded between a Michigan lawmaker and the Secretary of Homeland Security during a high-stakes oversight hearing. What began as routine questioning about border policy quickly became a pointed confrontation over constitutional rights, immigration enforcement, and the boundaries of executive authority.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for being here. You know, Michigan's a border state, so we need each other. We have a very big bridge that's being inaugurated, ribbon cut in September. We need that to be fully staffed. We have a lot going on in Michigan as a northern border state, so we need each other. But what I'm concerned about is that you've taken the mandate to close off the border beyond going after, as you say, the, quote, most dangerous illegal immigrants. I'm a CIA officer. I worked my entire life to protect the homeland. If someone's here illegally, they need to not be here. They've committed a crime by being here. They need to go back to wherever they're from. But my concern is that either through sloppiness or intent, you have gone far beyond going after the, quote, most dangerous illegal immigrants and gone into legal immigrants who were given the ability to be here, and even American citizens. And when I think about that, you know, there are lots of people in this country, including me, who have families who fled this kind of environment where they have no rights, where they have no due process, where they don't have habeas corpus. So while I'll be the first to say, coming from a state that was won by Trump, that there is a mandate to do something about the border, I think it is absolute dangerous overreach to go beyond that and start picking up American citizens and people who have the legal right to be here, lawful immigrants who have done everything right. So first and foremost, do you acknowledge that your department has made some mistakes, any mistakes, in going after either American citizens or legal immigrants here in the time that you've been in office?
We have not deported any U.S. citizens
detained
or people get interviewed. If they get interviewed and they go through that process and we find that they're U.S. citizens or legal immigrants, they stay in the United States.
Have you deported
we have to go through the vetting process.
Have any American citizens, including children, been deported during your time in office?
We have children that mothers have chosen to keep with them. So those
by my count, you have 10 American citizens, including children with cancer, who have been deported out of the country. I understand you're saying it's their choice.
But the mothers,
it's hard to imagine a small child having a choice. But have you gone after legal immigrants? Again, your standard in your opening statement was the most dangerous illegal immigrants. Does that include PhD students and master's students at colleges across the country, unarmed? Are they the most dangerous illegal when they have status and no weapons?
I don't decide who gets status through a student program. The Department of State decides that, and we enforce it.
Oh, come on.
That's what our Department of Homeland Security does.
I just would offer that, again, I have no qualms with going after folks who are here illegally. That is not my concern. That was part of my job, was to prevent people from coming here illegally in a former life. My concern is you're sending a chill down the spine of America by going after people who either have legal status or American citizens. And when my colleagues ask you about habeas corpus, and you say, literally, we can review the tape, that you believe it's a right the president has, you sat here in front of all of us and swore an oath to the Constitution, and that is not at all what habeas corpus is. It is a right that we all get, that American citizens get, that people who are in the United States legally have. So my concern is it's complete overreach. I don't think American citizens, even those who voted for Trump, believe that you should be able to just grab someone off the street, sloppy, who has the legal right to be here, and certainly an American citizen. And I just am concerned that while you say you're going after the most dangerous folks, what you're actually doing is going after folks for political reasons, right? A PhD student that's unarmed is not at the top of the list.
And we're not deporting U.S. citizens, and we're not deporting people who have legal status here.
10 American citizens
have been deported. If the children have gone with their parents, it's because their parents wanted them with them. So let me ask you another question about cybersecurity. You know, you've cut $500 million from the budget. What specific programs are you cutting? Because there are programs that really aid
states and locals that we depend on for cybersecurity. And we know that right now, while we may have good security in the federal government, if you are a local state official, you're depending on the federal government. So have you cut the ISAC program, the program to states and locals on cybersecurity?
The president's recommended budget has a reduction in $491 million.
Does it cut that program? I've heard the talking point.
And what it's doing is putting
cut the
CISA
program
back on mission.
And it's
you can't
ensuring
say
that this is the most
cybersecurity is going to be strengthened.
You cannot say it's the most cybersecure administration if you're cutting the program to my state and to your state.
It will
and if you
be
look
when
on record, that's what you've cut. I yield back.
Time has expired. Senator Hawley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Noem, good to see you.
If you appreciate breakdowns that go beyond the headlines and help you understand what is really at stake, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss our deep dives. The Lawmaker, drawing on her experience as a former CIA officer, pressed the secretary with one of the most serious accusations a Homeland Security chief can face: the claim that his department has overstepped its mandate and swept up not only undocumented immigrants, but also lawful immigrants and even American citizens. For viewers who may not follow this issue closely, this moment matters because it touches on the core tension in today's immigration debate: the balance between securing the border and protecting civil liberties. When she invoked families who fled countries without due process or habeas corpus, she was reminding the room why the United States has long treated those rights as non-negotiable. This is not simply a policy dispute. It is a question about the kind of country Americans believe they live in. If you want more reporting that explains the deeper stakes behind moments like this, make sure you subscribe. The secretary pushed back firmly, insisting that the department has not deported any American citizens and that interviews and vetting are part of standard procedure. But the lawmaker countered with cases involving children, including sick children who she says were effectively deported because their parents were removed. This distinction, voluntary departure versus forced removal, is where the debate gets complicated. On paper, the department may not classify those children as deportations, but in practical terms, families rarely leave children behind, meaning the impact can mirror deportation regardless of the technical definition. Understanding nuances like this is what allows the public to separate official language from lived reality. If you are finding this breakdown helpful, subscribe to stay informed. The questioning then shifted to another sensitive issue. The lawmaker challenged the secretary on his claim that the administration is focusing on the most dangerous illegal immigrants. She pointed to arrests of PhD and master's degree students who had valid legal status and no criminal record. Her argument was simple: if the government is detaining people who are not threats, the system is not merely strict, it is overbroad or politically motivated. This matters because immigration enforcement relies on public trust. When lawful residents fear that status is not protection, communities withdraw, cooperation drops, and national security can actually weaken. These are the concerns that hover beneath the surface every time a story about enforcement practices emerges. To keep following the full picture as it develops, remember to subscribe. The exchange grew sharper when the subject of habeas corpus came up. According to the lawmaker, the secretary had previously suggested that the president has broad authority over this constitutional protection, a protection designed specifically to prevent government overreach. In hearings like this, lawmakers often test the limits of executive legal interpretations, but her criticism here was fundamental. Habeas corpus is not a privilege granted by the president. It is a right guaranteed by the Constitution, one of the oldest safeguards in American law against unlawful detention. When a cabinet secretary is perceived as mischaracterizing that right, it sends alarms through civil liberties advocates and constitutional scholars alike. As always, if you appreciate hearing the part of the story most summaries leave out, make sure you tap subscribe. These issues may not generate viral hearing moments, but they are among the most important national security challenges facing the country. If you value coverage that makes complex issues understandable, subscribe for more. In the end, this hearing was about more than immigration or cybersecurity. It was about trust, authority, and the boundaries of government power. One side framed its concerns around constitutional protections and governmental overreach. The other maintained that law, procedure, and public safety guide their actions. For ordinary Americans watching, the exchange illuminated just how differently leaders interpret the same set of responsibilities, and how those interpretations shape the policies that affect millions of lives. Stay with us as we continue to follow the story, and remember, if you want news explained with clarity, depth, and context, subscribe so you never miss one of our reports.